3 PlayStation 1 games that really carved my way into the 32-bit era. Welcome to the video, my name is Gemma and today it is all about the PlayStation 1 and I'm feeling very nostalgic. Up here in the Lady Loft and I want to share some secrets and some stories about my journey into the 32-bit era, starting, I believe it was Christmas 96. I'd left home by 97. I left home at 15, so I wasn't at my dad's then. So it must have been Christmas 1996. Now, it was my brother who you saw in this video. So this is my real life brother.
Real life brother.
Real life.
Real life.
Real life. And we mentioned, if you're very eagle-eared, that there were 3 PlayStation 1 games that really got us going. One of which my brother said was his favourite PlayStation 1 game of all time and a very prominent retro gaming memory. Now I wanted to dive into that a bit more. I'm going to start with this. This is a staple PlayStation 1 title and it was one of 3 titles that my brother got for the PlayStation 1 that Christmas. Now, going from the Super Nintendo and the Sega Mega Drive to the 16-bit period up to the 32-bit, there will be never ever, I've said this a million times, there will never be another graphical jump like that. That was literally night and day. So the first game I ever put into my brother's PlayStation 1 was this, Crash Bandicoot. And say, as much as I love my Super Nintendo, sorry, Super Mario World back then took a back shelf because now we had Crash Bandicoot and we were diving through those levels like nobody's business, enjoying not just the visuals, the crisp, realistic visuals at the time, but also the sound as well. And to this very day, I will never know what this sound actually is. Oogadaba? Whatever. Me and my brother made up this name. I can't even remember what it was. He might actually comment in the comment section, but we made up a name for whatever that phrase was, and we used to kind of play the game at the CRT and say it over and over again, like nudging one another if one got killed, and we'd pass the controller from. And it was just an absolutely mesmerising time, not just to be a gamer, but also to be a sibling around the Christmas period and really getting into the PlayStation. We were one of the last few of our peer group to actually have a PlayStation. And I actually thought that getting 3 games with this machine at Christmas, well, my brother, it was like fantastic. You know, I thought we'd only get 1, but we actually got 3. And I think Crash Bandicoot back in the day really showed what the PlayStation could do, what the capabilities really could flipping do. And I absolutely love it, love it, love it, love it. Now, going back to it nowadays feels incredibly difficult. We, of course, have had the remake or the kind of re-release of Crash Bandicoot, and it's incredibly difficult, especially those later levels. But there's no denying that the magic will always be on the PlayStation 1 with the 32-bit polygons just popping out right there, playing Crash Bandicoot for the very first time. I'm so grateful to have that as a memory. I'm so grateful to be able to share that with my brother, and today I am so grateful to be able to share that with you. Unfortunately, there were no pictures back then. Nobody ever took any pictures of us, like family stuff, and definitely there was no video. I would love to tell this story, showing you us sat at a CRT, but I'm hoping that my words carry your imagination into this gorgeous nostalgic journey. Okay, the second game that we got was this International Soccer something, Superstar Soccer Nights. Anyway, I was not a fan of football games. In fact, back in the 16-bit period, it was often scorned at, or you kind of turn your nose up at a copy of FIFA on the Sega Mega Drive or the, Super Nintendo. It was just one of those games that I just didn't care about. It felt too samey, release to release to release. But it was interesting, this being my first next generation Ultra 32-bit football experience, and I actually fell in love with it. It felt absolutely phenomenal, and looking back, the game out of these 3 has probably aged the worst. But there was something in this sound that me and my brother used to absolutely howl at. I will try and find it and stitch it in here. What on earth is that sound? It sounds like this baby crying in the freaking audience. And I remember playing through a game and you'd hear that same sound over and over and over again. I mean, that says to me the sound design was pretty darn shoddy. But it's funny that something so shoddy and weird like that can make me smile from ear to ear nowadays. My brother remembers it very well. We still joke about it, and I sent him a picture recently of the game, and when I see that front cover I hear that freaking sound effect. So yeah, that was just a bit of a weird one for me, and I want to know if you remember playing that, and did any of you ever pick up on that sound? Next up then was a game that Scott mentioned. I asked him this: if you were to pick one gaming memory, what would be the most prominent? What's the first thing that comes to mind?
Porsche Challenge.
Wow, I didn't expect you to say that.
Porsche Challenge.
Honestly.
First game ever completed on the PS1.
And yes, he said Porsche Challenge immediately. It kind of blew me away when we did that video. Porsche Challenge was my first two-player experience on a Sony PlayStation, and of course it was split screen, so to be able to race against your sibling was the ultimate rivalry back then, and we had weeks and months and absolutely so much time spent on Porsche Challenge, and then having that thrill of completing the first batch of tracks and then unlocking like a mirror mode. Or I remember this one track, I think it was the first track, where a new part of the track would actually open and you're thinking, wow. I mean, of course that's quite common for racing games. That happened on the likes of Ridge Racer, where you'd get your mirror mode and then different parts of the track would unlock to therefore make the track a lot bigger. But Porsche Challenge was something special because the graphics and the polygons and the lighting looked so gorgeous. And when I saw that Porsche back in the day, I naturally either picked the yellow or the pink as they're my favourite colour. So those two Porsches, I just remember seeing the curves of that Porsche and thinking, wow, how did they make this game? How did they make it seem so real? And you know, it's actually aged pretty well. I'll be honest with you, a lot of you might disagree, but I actually think Porsche Challenge has aged really, really well. I would love to see, out of all three of, I mean, it's easy because still got Crash Bandicoot, we've got football games, but we haven't had a Porsche Challenge remake. Imagine if we could get that, something at the Gran Turismo level of kind of graphics and just gorgeousness and soundtrack and playability. That, but in Porsche Challenge, I think there's a gap in the market there. If you're a dev, let me know what you think. But I know that it's a great game, and the good thing about all of these games is if you were to buy them today from Retro Game Shop, we've got a retro gaming market next week actually in Leeds, they're really, really cheap. So we can emulate that experience at a very, very low cost. And that just is even better. It's not like we're playing Symphony of the Night and I'm sat here talking to you about Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which costs an absolute wad of cash. We're talking about cheap games. So that just warms my soul even more that we can bring some nostalgia to you in this episode at a very cheap price. There are, of course, many more PlayStation 1 games that I had phenomenal memories with. Playing Tomb Raider for the first time, it was actually at my friend Damon and Gareth's house, and then again I played it with my friend Matt. I never owned my own copy, of course, but you know, I have very warm memories of them. I remember, I think it was either 4 or 5 on the PlayStation 1, the original Tomb Raider, and me and Matt, it was 6 weeks holidays and his mum and dad were out at work, and that was prime time to get into your mate's living room, hook up the PlayStation onto a bigger screen and actually see Lara Croft and all those tombs in much bigger volume. So there was this level and we played it for hours. It was 4 doors with 4 keys. I'll kind of try and stitch some gameplay in, but we were just on it for ages. And when it was Matt that actually finally beat it, it was an absolute revelation. I remember that so warmly. I can feel the memory, I can see the memory, almost as if it happened yesterday. And it's those kinds of memories, like I've just explained to you about Crash Bandicoot, about the soccer game and about Porsche Challenge, that I still feel and are so close to me. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I like to collect. And I've said it before, I collect games that I've never played, I collect games that I've massive nostalgia for. The beauty of something like retro gaming is that for me it's still ever evolving. The experience is new, but it's also very old as well. So I think that is to be celebrated. So really cool, huh? I actually feel great talking about these memories with you, and I hope you've had fun just listening in and just kind of casting your mind's eye back to the mid-90s with me today. If you've enjoyed it, I would ask two things: one, that you leave a like, and one, that you subscribe. And I would like to say thank you so much. Go and check out mine and my brother's nostalgia episode. I'll link it in the cards as well as the description, so it's dead easy for you to click through. But for now, I will say thank you, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers. I need a few seconds of your time to tell you about channel memberships. If you guys want to become a channel member, click join from the main page or the second link in the description. There are 3 tiers, all with different perks for you if you want to become a team member. Thanks for your time. Let's continue with the video.